video I'll be discussing about exception handling. So very first we'll be discussing about what exception is. After that we'll be discussing about how to handle that exception. So let us go ahead. What is exception? An exception is a runtime error which halts our program. You didn't understand? I'll tell you. Something like in a program, if you are writing 25 as 0, what is the value? It is infinity. Is it possible to get the value infinity? It is something like arithmetic exception. I'll show you with example. In your program, assume a equals to 25, b equals to 0. Okay. And now I'm writing c equals to a by b. And I'm going to display that value c. And see, this is exception in the thread. Now program gets stopped. And it's showing arithmetic exception. What is the exception in? Divided by 0. So this is one kind of exception which stops your program. See here, after this step, if I write anything like system dot out dot println hi. Now I'm again executing the program, and nowhere I'm able to see the message hi which is getting printed. So this message is not getting printed. Why? The program gets stopped here, gets halted here. Why it is stopped? Due to exception. Why it is stopped? Due to exception. The exception is 25 by 0 value you are storing in C, and you are trying to display that, which is not possible. So this is what one kind of exception is. There are types of exceptions here. There are two types of exceptions are there. First one, checked exception, and the second one, unchecked exception. So let me talk about checked exception first of all. Some exceptions that are identified during the compile time of a program itself. I mean to say, something when you're trying to access a class which is not available, then you will get one exception like class not found exception. These kinds of exceptions are identified during the compile time itself. Why? Because we are looking for a class here which is not available. So all these comes under checked exceptions. And the thing what we are concentrating here are unchecked exceptions and something like completely occurring during the runtime of a program. These are unchecked exceptions, and these are unchecked exceptions. So one example is arithmetic exception here. Now, so what are the unchecked exceptions we have? So arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception, string index out of bounds exception, null pointer exception, and number format exception. I'll be discussing about each and every kind of exception with example program. Okay. So this is arithmetic exception. I can say I'm putting in a comment. This is arithmetic exception. Let me create one array int a equals to new int of size 2. So here array size is 2 here we are giving, and now the value what I am giving here is 45. Array index 7 you are giving the value 45, but you know that array size is 2, so the indexes are 0 index, 1 index will be there, but you are trying to store the value in 7th index. It is not possible. See what kind of problem we are going to get. We are getting the exception, and look at, we are getting the exception as array index out of bounds exception. Array index out of bounds exception, and index 7 out of bounds of our length. What is the length we have given? 2. For the length 2 you are trying to store the value in the 7th index, which is not possible. It is not possible. And see here also, after getting exception, further steps will not be executed. For checking, I am just putting a message or printing the message hi, and see here that hi message is not getting printed. And this is, I can call it as array index out of bounds exception. Array index out of bounds exception. Okay, so now I am going to the one more kind of exception. Let me create one string object and let me assign null to it. Okay, now system dot out dot println, I'm trying to find the length of the string. Okay, so I'm trying to find the length of the string whose value is null, and see, I'm trying to execute now. Again we got exception, null pointer exception. What we call it as null pointer exception. What it is telling, cannot invoke string length because s is null, because s is null. So this is one more exception, and obviously you know that after getting exception further steps will not be executed. It's printing high, and see here that high is not printed. Okay, now this is what we call null. This is the example for null pointer exception. Okay, now again I am going for one more exception. Again let me take a string s and its value is India. Okay, now I am taking integer I, variable name is I, integer dot parse int of yes, and let me try to print that of I. System dot out dot println, I'm printing hi message. If I'm getting exception, this hi will not be printed. See whether we are going to get the exception or not. I'm telling you, this is the place we are going to get the exception, and here one error it is showing print ln. And see what is the problem we are getting. Number format exception. Number format exception. Number format exception is your string value is India. Is it possible for you to convert the string which is name to number? Not possible, no? You are trying to do that. That is what the system is creating the exception here. And this is null pointer exception. So all these are exceptions which are creating problem to our programs, which is not letting our programs to get executed, right? So how to handle these exceptions? So I am going to discuss about the procedure for handling these exceptions. Okay, and the definition for that is, I am showing you the definition first of all. Exception handling technique. The process of handling the exception occur is known as exception handling. The keywords are try, catch, throw, throws, finally. Using these 5 keywords, we can handle the exceptions. Not all the keywords at a time, but sometimes what are the keywords are required, those keywords we are going to use. I am going to discuss about each and every keyword with the example. Okay. Now, let me start. Okay, let me start with try, catch, or before going to this handling techniques, exception handling techniques. I just wanted to clear you one thing. What is the error then? Error is also halting our program for execution. Then what is the difference? The difference between the error and exception, I am telling you. For example, int a, you forgot to write semicolon. A equals to 12. System dot out dot print ln. You're trying to print a. Look here, I just forgot to write the semicolon. I'm trying to execute. Missing of semicolon or declaration missing. Syntactical problems what we are doing here in the programs. Whatever the programs, whatever the problems or mistakes we are doing during writing the program, like missing of semicolon, declaration missing, of variables, all this in data type mistakes, if I'm writing like this. So these are the mistakes we do in general syntax. Those are errors, and the exceptions are what we have seen. Okay, now let me start. Let me start with the same arithmetic exception. I'm giving 25 value. After that, b value I'm giving 0 comma c. Now look at, I'm going to write the try block, which is one keyword used for handling the exception. Whenever we feel like exception we may occur here, then that code you write it in try block. That code you write it in try block. Something here, a c equals to a by b. That code I have written. So as we are going to get the exception here, you know that. So the obtained exception will be thrown here automatically from this place. The exception what we are getting divided by 0, 25 by 0, the exception what we are getting will be thrown automatically from here, and something should be there to catch that exception. Something should be there to catch that exception. What is that? We have a block called a catch block. We have a block called catch block. Here we need to write an object for the class exception. And let me tell you guys one thing, there is a class called exception class. For that, where we can, which is the objects what we are going to create from exception class are going to catch that exceptions. And let me print out here system dot out dot println e I'm printing, and see here the exception is being handled very carefully, and the message what we are getting is divided by 0. Now this will not halt our further steps to get executed. This will not stop. Let me write down system dot out dot println hello. This message gets printed now. I mean to say the further whatever the lines we are getting will be executed. Only this part A by B related part will not get executed. And now by looking at the message, this is not exception occurred here. We are displaying the message what kind of exception occurred here. And by reading this message divided by 0, we will understand that we have done something mistake, like denominator value we have kept 0. That we might be rectifying like this. And obviously if we try to print the c value or whatsoever, system dot out dot println c value, if you print, obviously 20 by 10 to 25 by 10, obviously you will get the value 2 will be printed. And if no exception is there, there is no question of catch block to come into action. Simply it will be skipped, catch block will be skipped, and further steps gets executed. Suppose if exception is there, it will be thrown from this step only, as we can say like b value 0, exception will be thrown from here only, and it will be catch in the catch block. Okay, this is how the arithmetic exception can be handled. In the similar way, guys, you write any code related to, I'm telling you, this is for arithmetic exception. You can write any code here in that place, in this place. Any code related to, I'm telling you again, the list of exceptions. The exceptions are null, pointer, exceptions, okay, number format exception, array index out of bound exception, okay, string index out of bound exception also. Okay, we might have missed this exception discussion. Now I will show you what string index out of bound exception is. Simply guys, we are going to declare one string s equals to India. Just I'm going to write s s dot caret method is there. We are trying to get the value which is available in the index -1. It is a character array only, right? Its index also starts with 0. In 0 index 1 is there, I is there. In 1 index n is there. In 2 index d is there. In 3 index I is there. In 4th index a is there. There is no question of -1 index. And you are trying to print the value which is available in the character available in the -1 index. Is it possible? No. So look here, string index out of bound exception occurred. Okay, that message we got it. If we have not written the code in TriBlock, catch block, try catch block, then you will get exception here and this hello message will not be printed. Okay, so try block is this, catch block is this, fine. Then one more thing is there. What is throw keyword? If we want to throw the I mean to say, if you want to throw the exception manually like this, throw new arithmetic exception, we can throw here divided by 0. We can manually throw the exception if you want to throw it manually, using the keyword throw. Okay, otherwise guys, automatically it will be thrown. I have to talk about throws keyword. Throws keyword is used for throwing checked exception. I told you in the starting, checked exceptions are like IO exception. You can write simply like this: throws IO exception. Throws IO exception. And if you write like this, it is asking you to import java.io.io exception. The class is to be imported. Not simply we write, if there is any input output related problems or exceptions are you going to get, it will be thrown automatically and will be handled. No issues. You don't need to worry about that. Okay. So throws is done, throw is done, try is done, catch is done. Now finally block. What finally does? I tell you. System dot out dot print ln uh, s dot caret of -1. This is raising an exception, right? Obviously, you are trying to access the character at -1 index. Now, suppose there is no catch block. Instead of that, I am writing finally. If catch block is not there, do remember the thrown exception will not be caught. The thrown exception from it will not be caught, and there is no handling process done. Means further code will not be executed from here. But finally, you write down any step in finally system.out.println. Hey, I am finally blocked. This particular statement gets executed. Whatever the problem is there, the finally block says, I am here, I'll get executed. Whatever the problem comes in the exception. Something when there is a in real time where there is a halt of your system or website, this whatever the messages to be conveyed, those messages will be kept in finally block, and using that it will be conveyed to the end user. And see here, exception occurred, program got halted, but hey, I am finally blocked, this message got executed. Why? Because that code we have written, you see here, that code we have written in finally block. But see here, hello will be executed or not? That is a question we need to get. Is there any message like hello? No, you know where you are getting the message hello. Why? Because exception occurred, program got halted, but finally block is executing. Guys, so this is an overview and clear with example about exception handling techniques. You watch this video once or twice carefully, step by step, you will understand what exception is, what are the types of exceptions are there. Okay, and how you are handling the exceptions. Okay guys, we'll meet in the next video with new topic. Thank you guys.